Hello, church family. Thank you for joining us for our 6th week of our Faith at Home series. I've really enjoyed coming and giving a little synopsis or a little summary or a little piece of advice or guidance on what each week will look like. And this week, I think, is going to be, I feel like I say this every week, but this week's going to be a little challenging. But I'm really excited in particular about this week. I'm actually doing this week on vacation. We're at the lake, we're hanging out, but I wanted to still shoot this video and post it to show that this stuff, this devotional, this idea of being a missional family is easy to do wherever you are. It can be done at home, it can be done in the car, it can be done on vacation as you're enjoying time at the beach, in the mountains, by a lake, wherever you are as a family. What we're talking about is fundamental changes that we make to our family systems that are going to permeate through how we interact with others. And this week, I think, really catches that idea. The theme is be tactful. Up till now, we've looked at how should families love God? How should families love God's word? How do we love God's word and love God? And then how do we go and put that love outside around us? And so this is really asking us, how are we going to be tactful and how we leverage our relationships, try to influence others into their love for God. There are some really fun activities, I think, this week. One is about being brave, having conversation with kids about ways that we can show courage, ways that we can overcome fear. Another one is asking about who is Jesus, to recognize the power and authority that Jesus has. One is a really good object lessons. A lot of time for younger kids, object lessons work really well. So the third day talks about pottery and using Play-Doh to talk about how we can make good things and how we can be careful about what we have. But this whole week ultimately is wanting us to think critically about how are we interacting with others. Last week kind of gave us the challenge to go and interact with others. But whether or not we've done that, it's always good to think critically about the way that we would or the way that we are interacting with others, to talk to somebody. I think one of the greatest things about God's Word is the accessibility of it. It's the power of God's Word to speak to any issue that somebody is going through. Everybody in the world is hurting. Everybody in the world has needs. And the Bible has the ability to perfectly meet those needs. Most of the time, people just don't know it. And most of the times, if we're being honest, we're too scared or intimidated to share those with others. Because oftentimes, if somebody's going through a really difficult time in their family, they're having fights as a family, there's family conflict, it's kind of vulnerable to say, hey, yeah, our family has fights and problems too. To go and witness to another parent who needs to hear that, it's going to require a tremendous amount of vulnerability on our end, but also a lot of tact to say, yeah, in these hard times, here is our message of hope. Because always what we want to do, when people leave a conversation about the gospel, we don't want them to leave with 5 action steps to be a better person. We don't want them to leave with a note card full of information that now they're a little bit smarter. We want them to leave with their heart being a little bit lightened because they've encountered truth and joy. They've encountered the person of Christ through His good news, through His gospel. As we're being tactful this week, as we read our memory verses, as we memorize those things, as we go about these activities, a lot of our conversations are going to revolve around how we as a family can be tactful and strategic in how we love others. Sometimes love means you sit with people who are hurting. Sometimes love means you guide people who need help. Sometimes love means you share a happy moment, you share hope with somebody. Love looks differently depending on what people need. But as Christians, that is our highest calling. And so when we look at these weeks, these are the weeks that are, I really do think, the most difficult to do because it's the most action steps on our end. Are we going to go and share our faith with others? Are we going to go and be honest about our struggles with others so they can see hope in the midst of their troubles? All of those conversations require a tremendous amount of vulnerability on our end, of courage and tact and wanting to push past any awkwardness, any fear that we have. But to me, all of those rest in, who do we believe that God is? Who do we believe that God's Spirit that indwells in us is? Because as soon as we see those things, we know that we can have these hard conversations because God's going to work through it. God is arranging and orchestrating and designing every conversation. All we have to do is be faithful. So families, that's my prayer for you all as we go through, is that we look for opportunities around us. If we're on vacation, if we're on a beach house and it's just us, it might be a little difficult. But if we're going to look around us for opportunities, it could be the people at the gas station, our server at the restaurant, it could be our family member, our uncle, our brother, whoever comes and stays with us, that we could share some love with them and be an example of the gospel. So that's my prayer for you all, families. As we go through this, we learn about what it means to be on mission as families, that we be empowered to take that mission and be an active part of seeing God become more and more meaningful. So I'm praying for y'all. Hope y'all have a good time. Hope y'all are still powering through this. We have 1 week left in our Faith at Home series. So I'm so excited to hear how it's been going in your home. So until then, praying for y'all, and I'll talk to y'all soon, families.